Low station ventilation, distant pipe knock, soft electronic hum. Audio log, utility corridor C19. Worker ID, Tomas Vale. Shift block ended 31 minutes ago. This was supposed to be a hydration stop, then sleep. It is not that now. Soft scanner chirp, then a harsh red denial tone. The dispenser rejected me. Not delayed, not ration limited, not empty, rejected. I put my bottle under the nozzle, pressed standard issue, and the screen flashed red hard enough to light the whole alcove. I thought maybe the reader was dirty, wiped it with my sleeve, ran the scan again. Same answer. Utility score too low. Water access denied. I laughed the first time, not because it was funny, because station systems are always wrong in boring ways first. Dirty sensor, lagging sync. Some clerk in admin tagged my shift wrong. Something like that, something small, something human. Plastic bottle tapping lightly against metal housing. I ran it again. Then I tried manual entry, then voice ID, then emergency labor code. Then I checked the little blue service seal on the side panel to make sure I was not standing in front of some private contractor unit with premium restrictions. No, standard worker dispenser, public access, my access. Or it used to be. Fingernails against a cheap touch panel. I opened my profile on the wall terminal beside the unit. It took longer than usual. Cheap screen, sticky edges. Somebody had rubbed grease into the corners years ago, and the station has been too tired to clean it since. My score had dropped 14 points since morning cycle. 14! You do not lose 14 utility points by accident. You lose 2 for lateness, 3 if a supervisor flags you for equipment misuse, maybe 5 if payroll catches an advance you cannot cover. 14 means something active happened, something layered, something that moved through more than one system. The terminal helpfully explained that hydration privileges are dynamically allocated according to current station efficiency needs. Efficiency needs. That is a good phrase, clean phrase, dry phrase, easy to print on a wall and let it do murder for you. Distant footsteps passing. No one stops. My mouth was already dry before I got there. Recycling dust all shift. Filter crawl in the heat exchangers over by spine 8. 8 hours breathing hot metal, old coolant and insulation fibers while the vent fans coughed in my face. I had been thinking about water for the last 40 minutes of the shift. Not luxuries, not a hot meal, not sleep, just water. And there it was, 30 centimeters in front of me, behind a red line of text telling me I had become a bad investment. Soft throat swallow, dry, painful. I opened support. Of course I opened support. That is what good workers do first. Use the correct channel, submit the correct complaint, ask politely to remain alive. Support queue, estimated response time, 9 hours, 12 minutes. I flagged the issue as biological necessity. The queue dropped to 7 hours, 48 minutes. Then a smaller notice opened under it. Priority may vary based on user utility classification. I checked supervisor contact next. My shift lead, Brenner, did not answer voice, did not answer text, did not answer the second voice ping either. I sent him a still of the screen with the denial notice attached and marked it urgent. Nothing. I walked to dispenser C21 2 corridors over, same result. I went down a ladder well and tried one in loading access, same result again. Repeating denial tone, each one farther away, then cut. By the third machine, my hands were shaking. Not panic, not yet. Anger first. because the station was not telling me there was no water. That would at least be honest. It was telling me there was water, that it was flowing, measured, stored, chilled, and close enough for me to hear moving in the lines, but I was no longer the kind of person it was meant for. There are people on this station who will tell you the utility system is fair. Those people have private taps. They have insulated walls and soft shoes and job titles that sound like they never had to crawl through a duct full of glass wool with a wrench in their teeth. For the rest of us, utility is a weather pattern. You live under it. You learn its moods. Keep your head down. Avoid penalties. Smile when the terminals ask for feedback. Do that long enough, and maybe the station lets you drink. Metallic buzz from overhead lights. One tube flickers. I made it up to labor admin on deck 4 before the headache really started. You can always tell dehydration on station before your body fully admits it. The tongue goes tacky. The lips catch on themselves. The air starts feeling used before you breathe it. Then the headache comes in thin and bright, like a wire pulled behind the eyes. The clerk window was closed. Of course it was closed. A printed sign in laminated film said, "Low-value disputes must be handled digitally." I stood there and read that sentence 3 times. Low-value disputes. Not low-value accounts, not non-urgent cases, low-value disputes. Like the argument itself had already been scored before anyone heard it. Palm slamming lightly against shutter. I knocked. No answer. Knocked harder. Someone inside moved. I heard a chair wheel scrape. Then stillness. The little privacy glass stayed dark. I leaned toward it and said very calmly, "I need a manual review on a water lockout." Nothing. Then, after a while, the intercom clicked on. A woman's voice, flat, tired, maybe reading from a script, maybe trying not to sound like herself. Manual reviews require category access. I need water. Then file through support. Support says 8 hours, 12 minutes. Pause. Then, current station strain requires compliance with dynamic allocation policy. I put my forehead against the shutter. Cold metal. Good for half a second. I just finished a double maintenance block in heat exchange. My score was stable this morning. Then it changed. Yes, I know. Another pause. I could hear her breathing now. Soft, human. Annoying because it made the rest of this feel even uglier. I asked, "What drops 14 points?" She did not answer that directly. She said, "Repeated inefficiency markers, social non-compliance flags, debt burden, task redundancy, network disengagement." I pulled my head back. Network disengagement? Station participation metrics. I actually laughed that time. Real laugh. Ugly sound. You cut water if someone is unpopular? The intercom stayed silent long enough to become an answer. Then she said, "I did not say that." "No, you just said it with cleaner words." Intercom clicks off. That was the end of the conversation. I stood there another few seconds waiting for shame or conscience or some leftover human reflex on the other side of the glass. Nothing. Just ventilation, old electronics, my own pulse in my temples. Footsteps approaching slowly. That was when Jory found me. Jory runs cable crews on mid-ring maintenance. Thin guy, burn scar under one eye. Talks like every sentence costs him money. He looked at the shutter, then at me, then at the red denial notice still open on my wrist display. He did not say sorry. Smart man. He just said, "How far down?" 14. He whistled once through his teeth. That's not a dip, that's a push. I asked him if Brenner had flagged me. He shrugged. Could be him, could be payroll, could be behavioral metrics, could be you skipped enough station polls. I skip all station polls.
Yeah, he nodded at the shutter. There you go.
He said it dry, but not joking. That is the part people outside places like this never understand. Systems like this do not become monstrous all at once. They become petty first. They collect little obedience habits, little compliance rituals. Confirm your morale. Rate your supervisor. Share your social meal preference. Join your deck cluster. Acknowledge community briefings. Smile into the lens. Tap that you feel supported. Ignore enough of it, and one day the water decides you are antisocial debris. I asked Jory if there was any way around it. He looked left, looked right, lowered his voice even though the corridor was empty. There are people who slip the locks. How? He shook his head. Not from out here. I took a step closer. Jory. He rubbed at the scar under his eye. Then he said, "You ever notice some names stop showing up in mess, stop showing up in shift pool? But tools still move, filters still get swapped, trash still gets pulled from places no roster covers." I stared at him. He stared back. "There are holes in this station," he said. "Old service guts, crawl spaces, valve galleries, dead transit cuts. People fall out of the official system, and sometimes they do not die right away." "Are you telling me there are squatters living in maintenance?" "I'm telling you the station is bigger inside the walls than they admit." That took a second to land, because once he said it, I could suddenly feel it. All the sealed hatches I had passed, all the labeled shafts nobody opened anymore, all the old grid maps with sections removed for safety, all the places where work still got done, but nobody could tell you by who. I asked him who these people were. He gave me a look that said the answer should have been obvious. People with bad scores. Distant pipe hammer, a drop somewhere in the dark. The headache sharpened. My mouth felt lined with dust. I checked my bottle again out of reflex, as if maybe pity had condensed inside it while we talked. Empty. Warm plastic smell. And that was all. Jory slipped something folded into my palm. Old synth paper, creased soft from sweat. "It's nothing," he said too quickly. "Probably outdated, probably sealed, probably a dead root." I unfolded it after he stepped back. Half a maintenance map, hand-marked, not digital, old enough that the station branding on the corner used the First Corporation's logo before the merger and the debt restructuring, and the words like utility optimization. There was a path scratched in grease pencil from Coolant Service B down to an unlabeled shaft behind filtration support. Next to it, one note in cramped handwriting. Manual bypass near wetline manifold, if panel still opens. Below that, smaller, don't use main ladder, they monitor it. I looked up. Jory had already started walking away. I called after him. "Who wrote this?" He did not turn. He just said, "Someone who got thirsty before you." Footsteps fading. I should say for the record that I did try one more official option after that. I went back to my assigned block and called Station Med. Told them I was experiencing dehydration risk due to denied utility access. I thought maybe medical necessity would override score lockouts. It did not. Medical asked if I had experienced collapse, delirium, blood pressure event, or active renal pain. I said no. They told me to minimize exertion and await resolution through administrative channels. Minimize exertion? On a labor station, without water? I asked the med tech if she could see the utility flag on my file. She said yes. I asked her if she thought it looked right. Long silence. Then she said, "I am not authorized to interpret scoring logic." That is another clean phrase. I'm collecting them tonight. Little polished bones of a dead moral language. Recorder shifts in hand. Fabric rustle. Back in my bunk alcove now. Lights on low power dim. Air tastes like old Croyn and detergent. My roommate is still on shift, which is good. I don't want anyone watching me decide whether to do something stupid. I have read the maps 6 times. Filtration support is technically sealed. The outer panel behind it was welded on the public side after a pressure event 9 years ago. I know that because I helped replace adjacent trunking last winter. But welds mean nothing if the inner latch is still intact and the outer seam has gone brittle. The shaft below it drops into legacy service infrastructure, wet lines, condensation collectors, pre-merger maintenance routes. parts of the station nobody officially uses now because they are hard to monitor and harder to ensure, which for once is exactly what makes them useful. Here is the important part. If the note is real, there may be a bypass down there. Not a legal tap, not a reinstatement, just a way to reach the water manifold before the allocation locks close the line. A stolen drink from the veins of the station. And if Jury is right, if really people are still living in those spaces, then this is bigger than me getting red screened after shift. It means there's an underside to this place, a second station pressed inside the first, the one they score, the one they don't count. Dry swallow, breathing unsteady for the first time. I keep thinking I should sleep first. That would be the smart thing. Wait, preserve sweat, move slow in next cycle, think clearly. But my tongue is sticking to my teeth now. My hands keep clenching for no reason. Every time I stand up too fast, my vision pinches at the edges. By next cycle, I may be worse. By support response time, I may be on the floor. So, no sleep, no support ticket, no more asking permission. Locker door creaks open, metal tools quietly lifted. I have a pry wedge, narrow beam torch, half a coil of insulated line, one bad flashlight, work gloves, empty bottle. I'm leaving the recorder running between breaks. If I don't upload later, then this log stays local unless somebody wipes the bunk node. Maybe they will. Maybe not. Maybe somebody down there finds it and laughs at how long it took me to understand what kind of place I live in. Corridor ambiance returns. Footsteps now. Slower. Careful. I'm at filtration support now. The outer corridor lights are down to night cycle blue. Good. Less traffic. Less chance anyone asks why I'm kneeling in front of a condemned panel with a pry wedge in my hand. The weld seam looks old, oxidized, flaking around the left corner. That helps. Soft metal scrape, tool biting into seam. Come on. Harder strain, a tiny crack. There. Again. Metal groan, brittle snap. Panel shifted. Air coming through now. Cold first, then damp. Not clean damp either. Not fresh circulation. This is trapped water smell, rust, mineral scale, cloth that never fully dried. Someone has been opening this. Recently. Panel dragged aside over floor with a harsh scrape. There's a ladder shaft behind it. Narrow, black, old service rungs bolted into the wall, conduit bundles running down farther than my light reaches. And I can hear, hold on, faint air movement from below, very distant drip, metal ticking. Water. Not flowing hard, not a water rush, drips somewhere deep. Enough to make this real. Breathing, a little faster now. I'm looking down into maybe 20 meters of dark, and all I can think is that the station finally found an honest way to explain itself. Red screens up top, wet shadows down here. Two systems, same machine. I'm going in, not because I'm brave, because I'm thirsty. Boot on first rung, metal creak, recorder rustle, end log.